Hi everyone, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to show you how to make this pea pod pendant. The pea pod pendant is kind of fun. You can do, a lot of people I've seen do different birthstones in the middle of mothers, so it's kind of like the mother's pea pod. This, I have 3 Cat's Eye beads, and we're working with a head pin and some 24 gauge wire. In addition to my head pin and my 24 gauge wire, I'm also using some pliers. The pliers that I have are a wire cutters, and we're going to be using those to cut our wire. We have our round nose pliers, and that helps to get our little shoestrings there. And our needle nose pliers. And these are actually a bent needle nose pliers, and we're going to use that at the top of our pod here to get our little eye pin closed so that we have something to put it on as a bail. The head pin that I have is a 20 gauge head pin, so it's a thicker head pin. If you don't have access to a thicker head pin, what you can do is just use some raw wire as well. You want to use at least a 3-inch head pin. This one actually is a little 4-inch head pin. It's a little long, but we'll use it. And then the wire is 24 gauge, and the brand that I went with was Beadalon. It's nice and flexible. So the first thing that I did was I cut about 16 inches of my 24 gauge wire. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend that wire completely in half. So I'm bending it in half, and that's going to get me it halved. I'm going to stick that bent wire, and I'm going to cross it over there. I'm going to stick that onto my head pin. So before my beads, I'm sticking the wire on. I'm going to take that down to the bottom of my head pin and give a little tight pull. One of my wires then is going to go to the right side, and one is going to go to the left side. After that, I'm going to get ready to start my little pod portion of it, and I'm going to put on my 3 Cat's Eye beads, and they're going to drop down right on my head pin, and they're just going to kind of hang out there while we're dealing with all the wire around it. So to wrap the wire around, I'm going to start off with the one that's on the right, and I'm going to wrap it around the top of my head pin one time. I'm going to take the one on the left, wrap around my head pin one time as well. And I'm wrapping from front to back. So the wire's at the front, and it's going to come to the back of the project. When I have it here at the bottom, you can see that it's not fully at the bottom. That's okay, because we're going to be making a little bit of a mess down there anyway with the wire moving, and we'll be able to move the whole project on the head pin. So I'm going to take the wire now that was around and down here to the right. I'm going to wrap it around the bottom just like I did the top one time. So it goes around the front of that head pin to the bottom, back up to the top. Again, I'm going to do the same thing on the left, and I'm going below the last coil down there. So that last half wrap is where I'm going below. Go on the left, go on the right. And you're just going to continue this to make your pea pod as big as you want it to be. So the wire around it can be as much or as little as you want it to be. I'm just wrapping around half wraps and just kind of making it loose around there so it doesn't look like my peas are too tight in their pod. Wrapping around the bottom, coming back up to the top here. Oops. Got loose down there at the bottom. We're going to just wrap it around again. The wire is nice because it's really, really forgiving. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side here, wrapping it around the bottom. I'm going to bring the wire back up to the top, and I'm going to show you how I get those little, how I finish it off, and how I get those little coilies at the top of my pod, so that it makes it have that nice little finished pea pod look to it. So I'm here at the bottom. What I need to do is get my wires to the top, and I'm going to wrap my wires around the top, and this time I'm actually taking them around the back of the wire so that they're ending at the front. That's because I'm going to get those little coily cues to the front of my pea pod. These wires that I have left over are a little long. So again, our wires are a little bit long, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them down. I'm going to cut them to about 1 inch long and one a little bit shorter than 1 inch. And that way, when I'm playing around with it, it's not so even, it looks more natural. I'm going to give those wires a nice tight pull again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my round nose pliers. The round nose pliers I'm going to use to create those little spirals. What I want to do is hold with my round nose pliers where I can see but I can't feel the extra wire. And I'm going to twist the wire around my round nose pliers. I want the wire to go below the top of the wire, and I'm just going to continue coiling. So I'm just winding my pliers around, and you can see it's getting that little twisted portion there. I'm going to switch over and do the same thing on the other side. And I have this here. I'm going to twist around, again making sure that that wire goes below the first twist. And I'm twisting, twisting, twisting. And then what I'm going to do is take the very bottom of the coil with my round nose pliers. I'm just going to pull it out a little bit. And that's going to get me my little silky strings here on my pea pod. Do the same thing on the other side. Sometimes you can design them and decorate them up with little beads at the end if you want. I usually like to keep them pretty simple. And then all that we have to do left is we have to just make our eye pin to put and to hang this on a chain or a little charm or whatever you're doing with it. We're going to go in with our round nose pliers and we're going to hold right above the last piece of wire. We're holding our pliers so that the wire is coming right out of the middle of the jaws. We're going to turn our pliers back 90 degrees, and that's going to push that wire away, and it's going to be lining perpendicular to the other one. The wire is going to come over the top of the round nose pliers till it touches your pea pod. Switch from the top jaw of the pliers to the bottom jaw and take it back to 90 degrees. That's going to get me that nice loop. I'm then going to hold that nice loop with my needle nose pliers, and I'm going to coil it around. I'm coiling it around above those pea pods. I coil it around 2 or 3 times, and I'm just going to take my wire cutters and cut off the extra wire. You can then take your needle nose pliers if you want and just give a little pinch. You can pinch down on it, and that is how you're going to do your little pea pod pendants here. Again, they're fun to make. You can make them with birthstones in the middles. You can make them with pearls. You can make them with all different things. You can make them as many peas in the pod or as few peas in the pod as you would like. And you can use a bunch of different wires for this. Again, I use 24 and a 20 gauge head pin, but you can use a 22 gauge head pin, 26 gauge wire. It's up to you. Play around with it. Have some fun. Check out our other YouTube videos and like us on Facebook. Hopefully you get a chance to visit one of our locations or check us out at potomacbeads.com or thebeadco.com. Thanks a lot for watching.